Hey everybody, welcome back to another Q&A with the Former Athlete Society. I'm Adam Ringler. As always, I am super stoked to have you here. And whether you're watching this video live in our one-on-one calls through our Former Athlete Society or catching the replay, honestly, I expect it's just me, the camera, and some questions. So these sessions are just as much for the folks that are tuning in after the fact as they are for the people that are joining us live. Now, if you're new around here, right, this is our weekly Thursday sit down. This is where I answer questions that former athletes, much like yourself, might be thinking about. But maybe you haven't said them out loud or communicated them. We talk about performance, we talk about health, mindset, habits, and real world stuff, day-to-day tactical stuff that you can use to really try to better your health, your fitness, and your performance, right? So even after eligibility runs out, you can still apply these methods and this methodology to your practice. So let's get after it. I got 5 questions lined up that covers structured nutrition, some mindset, some accountability, and some things just to keep fitness fun for the long haul. These are tactical, so let's get into it. First question I have comes in from Trey from Oklahoma. And it says, let's see, Adam, I feel lost without the structure I had in college. No practice, no lifts, no coach breathing down my neck. How do I rebuild a daily routine that actually sticks? Well, Trey, you are not alone by any stretch of the imagination. That lack of structure post-college hits harder than most people actually expect. You go from having your entire day planned, from team breakfast to study hall to practice to lifts, everything, to complete freedom, right? And that freedom, oddly enough, sometimes becomes the enemy for a lot of us former athletes. So here's the deal. Start small. You don't need a Navy SEAL schedule, but you do need anchors throughout your day, like fixed points that never move. So things like your wake-up time, your first meal, your maybe first training session, your training block, right? How you wind down or shut down at the evening, right? Even just having a non-negotiable, say 7 a.m. wake up and a 12 p.m. lift is enough to make your day feel, again, like you're training towards something. Use your calendar like it's your strength coach. So schedule your sessions into your iCal, build out your meals, even maybe your downtime. And look, I know it's not super attractive, but use your phone's alarm app. Set reminders, prep dinner, prepare meals, go for a 10-minute walk. That phone that you have in your pocket, it used to be a distraction. Now it can be your assistant coach. So discipline thrives in rhythm. So create some rhythm. And when you do so, you start showing up like the athlete that you used to be, except now you're running the program. So question 2 that I have, this one's from Lauren out in Phoenix. Cool, awesome. And she says, hey, I used to eat like a machine during the season, like upwards to 6,000 calories. Now I'm still training, but not at the same intensity. How should I shift my nutrition for long-term health? Well, I'll say this. Number 1, Lauren, I am not a registered dietitian. I don't pretend to be one on the internet. But what I will say is I love this question because I think it cuts through to what a lot of athletes feel with, right? So many former athletes either keep eating like they're prepping for a playoff run, or they swing too far the other direction and start skipping meals, right? And I see this time and time again. So first, acknowledge your training volume is different. That doesn't mean that you have to eat like a bird. It means that we have to shift our fueling strategies from max output to fueling for your recovery, your daily energy, and your hormonal health. So tactically, what that looks like is maybe like this. We should prioritize protein. You're not trying to win a bench press competition or a powerlifting meet, but you still want to have lean mass and satiety. So aim from 25 to 40 grams of protein per meal. We should be deliberate about front loading our calories, eating more perhaps earlier in the day, And as the evening comes around, that late night snacking is sometimes usually emotional, and it's not always physical, right? So kind of curbing that. We should cook most of our meals. And I'm not saying you need to go full chef mode, but the difference between home cooked chicken and drive-through chicken from, say, Chick-fil-A is night and day different. So think of your nutrition less like a race car refueling in a pit stop, and more like oil changes, tire rotations, tune-ups. It should be steady, consistent, and maintenance, right? So think about maybe how we can sometimes shift some of those nutritional strategies in ways that you would have supported you when you were an athlete, but maybe now hinder you now that you're a former athlete. So the next question comes from, this is Jamal out in Charlotte. And he asks, I feel like I lost who I was when I stopped playing. I'm not the athlete anymore that I used to be. How do I deal with that identity shift? Now, Jamal, I hear you. That identity loss is real. And when your sport ends, it can sometimes feels like your whole story ends too, right? So first off, you are still an athlete, right? You always will be. But now you're just an athlete without a jersey. And that opens up more space for really cool things. So here's what I've found that seemed to help me and some of the athletes that I've worked with navigate this transitional period from being an All-American to now just being part of the working force, right? You need to find a new arena to compete in. And that might be in your career, that might be in coaching or writing or entrepreneurship or philanthropy, maybe even competing in rec leagues. But find a space where you can pursue mastery and some level of competition. Also, get around others who understand this, right? Join communities like this one, or meet with a mentor, a therapist, an old teammate, or somebody that understands what the challenges are and how we as athletes tick. Another thing that sounds maybe a little bit cheesy, but I still do it, I regularly do it, and that's journal, right? But write about the things that maybe made you love your sport, and then go find other things just like that in other areas of your life, right? Identity doesn't vanish, it just evolves. You were an athlete, and now you're a resilient, adaptable, high-capacity human with the skill set of an athlete. So that never goes away. We just got to find different ways to express those things in ways that actually support you as a human now that you've made this transition from an athlete in a competitive setting to now just a professional in a working setting. Question 4. This comes from our former athlete society. This a member, Brittany from Nashville, asks, without coaches or teammates, I struggle to stay consistent. How do I stay accountable to my goals now? Brittany, listen, I get it. Without the built-in structure of accountability and consistency and all of those sort of substructures, it turns into an uphill battle, right? So let me give you 3 things that I think you could work on. Public micro commitments, right? So start with someone that you trust. Maybe it's a girlfriend, it's a friend, it's somebody, I don't know who, right? And it could be as simple as texting a friend, hey, 3 lifts, 2 walks, 100 grams of protein each day. Something so simple like that. But when you do that, you create some accountability. You have publicly communicated what you want to do during your day, right? Or during your week. And now you have another friend that can help hold you accountable to those things. Track small wins. So grab a notebook, use a habit tracker app, right? Seeing your check marks build up is literally like pure dopamine. You're essentially you're cheating the system by gamifying things. And then saying that, actually gamify it, right? So make it fun. Turn your week into a challenge. Can you beat last week's consistency score? Can you score 10 times this month rather than 8 times like you did last month? It might be old school, but it works. You used to have a coach who was probably on you every single day, right? And now you're your own coach. You set your own standards. You have to build in checkpoints in your day, and you have to keep score like it's the off-season grind. So hopefully that helps build some accountability through your day, Brittany. So our last question that I have, this one's, oh, shoot, man, from Denver. That's awesome. Kyle from Denver. Hey, I'm getting bored with my workouts. I miss the adrenaline of game days. How do I make fitness and training for something fun and actually something I can stick with long term? Now, Kyle, this is where a lot of former athletes fall off because they try to create the game day adrenaline in a commercial gym, and that just ends up falling flat. So here's the shift that I would recommend. Stop chasing that high. Start chasing engagement. You don't need to hit PRs to feel alive in the weight room, but you do need to care about what you're doing. So maybe as a strategy shift, try this. Rotate sports. Do something different. Maybe different activities. Maybe every season. Maybe it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the fall, trail running in the summer, CrossFit or Olympic lifting in the winter or something like that. Right? Maybe find a coach or a group that brings some energy, right? We're social animals. We're social creatures. So show up wherever the vibes are good, right? So find a community that actually supports you. Also, maybe create themed training blocks, like 4 weeks focused on kettlebells and 6 weeks chasing Olympic lifting or powerlifting, right? And use those as sort of like seasonal periods in your training that you can really sort of energize around a goal or around a theme. And then shift, right? Make it feel like it's a preseason, an in-season, and an off-season now that you're just part of the regular folk, right? Fitness is now probably for you is going to be your lifestyle. It's not your job. So make it one that you love actually coming back to, right? I'm looking at the clock here. Again, I try to keep these pretty short. I think that's going to wrap up today's Q&A. I want to say just a couple of different things. A huge shout out to Trey, Lauren, Jamal, Brittany, Kyle. Even though, even though you submitted those, right? You can always find me at Instagram or Twitter, X, I guess, Blue Sky, right? You can always get your questions to me through social media. You can join our Former Athlete Society at adamringler.com/former athlete. And you can have an opportunity to join these calls one-on-one in real time, live. And you can join me so that you can end up having this dialogue with me face-to-face, or at least computer screen to computer screen. And whether you're, 5 years removed from sport or your season just ended, remember this, right? You still have an athletic fire in you. You just need to feed it differently now. So keep showing up, keep asking better and better questions, keep leaning into this work. And if you got questions that you want covered next time, drop them into the comments below. And I see every single comment in our YouTube videos and elsewhere. Until then, keep training like it matters, because honestly, it still does. And I'll see you next week.